Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is the all-new 2025 Hyundai Santa Cruz Limited. And today, I'm gonna review it for you guys. I had the opportunity last year to review the 2024 Hyundai Santa Cruz Limited, and I really liked it. I thought it was a fun, compact truck. And here for 2025, the Santa Cruz gets a light mid-cycle refresh with some key feature updates that I think a lot of people are gonna like. But perhaps the most interesting feature on this particular truck is that the interior is green. The largest exterior change here on the 2025 mid-cycle refresh of the Santa Cruz is perhaps something you wouldn't even notice at first. It's actually the LED daytime running lights right here. And I should preface for the video's sake, they're not actually whooshing like that in real life. That's a camera refresh rate issue. If you were to look at this with your actual eyes, they would just look like LED lights. But up here, they're more squared off and rectangular than the exterior lights on the outgoing Santa Cruz. It gives it more of a trucky look here up front compared to that previous one, and I think it works well. While we're up front here, I might as well talk about the headlights. You'll get LEDs and LED turn signals down here, and then you'll have a camera in the front of the grille for the 360-degree camera system, and this is accessible as a single camera on the interior. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. You'll also have a sensor up here for the safety system that the Santa Cruz is equipped with as well. The Santa Cruz doesn't change anything underneath the hood for 2025. This is still powered by the 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that was in the previous Santa Cruz, making 281 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. And that is paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. As for fuel economy, the EPA rates the turbocharged Santa Cruz at 19 city and 27 highway, and during my testing this week, I hovered right around 24 miles per gallon. Moving to the profile of the Santa Cruz, and look, I know you want to get to the interior so you can see how green it is. You're probably wondering, is it as green as those trees? Is it lime rush green? Is it green like my pants? We'll get to it in a little bit, I promise. But first, let's talk about these wheels and tires. Here on the Limited, you'll get 245 50R Michelins, and I love these 20-inch wheels. I think they really complement the exterior styling quite well. And then you'll have this body cladding that extends on the lower portion, giving it a slightly more rugged look. Then you'll have a turn signal indicator, a camera here for the 360-degree camera system, blind spot monitoring, and they are power adjusting mirrors. You will have keyless entry here, and then you get roof racks and a sunroof, which we'll talk about a little bit more when we move to the interior. But moving to the rear here, this is actually a really functional bed. You might say, Isaac, this just looks like a Tucson with an extension. And yes, essentially that's what it is, but this bed is actually very practical. You're only losing about half a foot compared to something like a Tacoma or a Colorado or a Ranger, and most people will really find this bed sufficient, I believe. And what's really cool is this comes with a lot of features standard that those other trucks only include if you fully option them out, or they don't include at all. I think this really stands out with some fun features here we'll get to in a second. But first, you'll have Santa Cruz stamped in the tailgate. You'll have a backup camera right there below the Hyundai badge, and these sort of T-shaped taillights are pretty nifty. Now, right here, one of the fun features that this has that not every other truck does is there is a step up into the rear here to give you better accessibility, which I really appreciate. And then dropping the tailgate here, it is dampened, so it will come down softly. Now this is an add-on right here, this hard tonneau cover, but it has, again, some nifty features that you don't always get. If you push this in, you can push that all the way up and it will expose the entirety of the bed here. But if you want to pull it back, you can just pull that little strap right there and it'll click back into place. But I think that's really neat. That's a very cool feature that is incorporated here into the bed. Something else you might notice, there's a little bit of a split here, and that's because if we go down here, you can actually open this up for some storage underneath. The Honda Ridgeline also has this feature. I don't understand why every truck doesn't incorporate this. It seems like all the trucks that are trying to catch up with Ford, Chevy, Ram incorporate stuff like this. And it's like genuinely revolutionary for pickup trucks, and I wish more of them had it. And it's cool to see here. You'll get drain plugs, so you can put stuff in here like drinks, ice, and then drain it out. And then this is funny. I guess they're required to put a child like escape latch here, which I think is funny. I mean, I guess this is big enough that a small kid could fit in here. So regulation-wise, that makes sense. Then you'll have some storage in here, and you can open that up, and inside there is an AC 115 volt outlet, which is very useful. You'll get some LED lights, tie downs in the bed here, and then over on this side, if I'm not mistaken, this is just a little storage area. No outlet over here, but I mean, this gives you the practicality of almost every other truck on the market, and then some, feature-wise. And I think it's excellent. You know, most people probably won't need a bed larger than this. And if they do, there are a lot of trucks on the market for that. But the average consumer who might need to run down to Home Depot to grab some mulch will find this very adequate to haul whatever they'd like. And it's very practical. And I think it's a good looking truck. What do you guys think? I think this is a pretty stylish looking little truck. All right, last thing before we move to the interior, let's talk key fob, which is the Hyundai logo. And I think that is very clever, if not a bit tacky. You'll get lock, unlock, remote start, and panic. And then here you have the ability to hold this, and that will drop the rear lift gate. It does not raise it back up, it only drops it. All right, let's move to the interior. Hey guys, jumping in here real quick before we move to the interior, just to say I am trying to hit 40,000 subscribers before the end of this year. So if you like what you see so far, hitting the subscribe button would really help me out. But if you want to wait a little bit longer, suss me out a little bit more, see my impressions on the interior or the driving aspects of the car, that's okay too. In any case, if you decide to subscribe, thank you so much. All right, now back to the video. The moment you've all been waiting for. Yes, it is dark green with these orange accents, sort of an army green in a sense, but I think this works pretty well for this car. I think it's a nice look, and that color extends a little bit here to the dashboard in this carpeting and here on the door, though the majority of it is sort of split between that dark green and black. But it's just not a color you see very often on an interior. I think this works quite well. And here, while I'm on the outside, I don't normally do the exteriors like this, but you do have power seat settings down here. You have your adjustments and your lumbar, which is nice. The only thing I don't love on the seats is this is hard touch plastic right here. And so sometimes if you really lean back into the seat, you can feel this. So that's a little frustrating, but relatively comfortable seats for the most part. And then stepping inside here, you can see there are some nice touches, especially this massive screen. And there are a lot of fun luxury features here, perhaps more than you'd expect on a pickup truck. But I think this interior is much nicer than the outgoing one on the first incarnation of the Santa Cruz. You got a smaller screen, there was more piano black plastic. Now, that's not to say that this screen isn't a fingerprint magnet. You can tell that it is for sure. But I think the setup here is a little bit more in line with Hyundai's current design styling, and I think it looks and feels a little bit more trucky than the previous one. But starting out here on the door panel, you'll get your window controls, your mirror controls, your seat memory controls. You'll have the lighting controls for the digital gauge cluster screen, rear light, traction control off, and your towing mode. You can cycle that on and off. And then here on the steering wheel, it's very comfortable steering wheel with paddle shifters. That's fun. You don't see that all too often on pickup trucks, though it is becoming more common. Then you'll have your radar guided cruise control settings right here. This is a little camera sensor to watch your eyes to make sure that they stay on the road when it does the sort of self-driving tech that it has, if you equip that. And then you'll have your volume and channel changing settings right there. Now, one thing I really love on Hyundais and Kias and a couple other vehicles are starting to adopt this, is that if I turn the turn signal on, the camera in the mirror is a blind spot camera, and then I can change that. It's so useful, incredibly helpful, and obviously, as I mentioned, the mirrors do still have blind spot alert, but it's sort of a double blind spot alert, which I think is super helpful. And then over here, you might see this and go like, wait, what is this? I don't understand. It's almost like an iPhone button. That is the sign in for your driver profile on the infotainment screen. So it gets your fingerprint, you just tap that, and it will sign you into a specific profile. As far as I know, I'm probably signed in here on this one as the guest. I don't quite know how to get back to that screen, but there's a lot of stuff here in the infotainment, but I think I'm in here as a guest. But yeah, that basically allows you to just set up certain features and stuff with the profile settings if a lot of different people drive this in your family. Moving over here to the infotainment, it is very quick and spiffy. There is voice memos, which I think is fun. So if I'm having a thought and I just need to vent my thought, perhaps I don't have a counselor, but I do have a Hyundai Santa Cruz, I can just let it go and this voice memo will record it. And I can save that for later, you know, and whatever next journalist has this car will hear my voice memo. And this does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, of course, though it does have navigation built in. And there are some other fun settings. For example, if we go to media, in addition to AM, FM Sirius, you also have sounds of nature, which I think is really fun. It's very peaceful. If you just want to kind of turn something on that's calm and meditative, you can do that. And this is like fun, like City at Dawn. It's just really, really nice to have that functionality. I love when Hyundai incorporates that into their vehicles on certain trims. I just think it's very useful. And it can give us sort of a fun, chipper background music for the rest of this video. Then moving further down, you'll have physical controls for the media, your volume, channel changing, etc., and some physical controls like these dials for your climate, but most of the climate controls are relegated to this small screen, which is useful that you don't have to dig through settings up here to change the climate, though I would still prefer physical buttons down here, and I will always say that until physical buttons return. And you might say, Isaac, the physical buttons have gone the way of the dodo. You may say that, but physical buttons have returned on the 2026 Subaru Forester, so I haven't given up hope that they will return on all cars. Moving down here, you will have USB-Cs, and then pushing this, you will have a 12-volt down there, wireless charging, little storage area, and then your shifter. If I put my foot on the brake, you have a very nice, crystal clear backup camera and top-down 360-degree camera. The top-down camera is one of the most useful modern car features we have, but there's an even more useful one here on Hyundai. If we tap this, there is an actual 360-degree cam. It stitches all of those cameras together. They're all wide angle, kind of like a GoPro, and it recreates the world. It's insane. And then backing up here, like if I need to back into a super tight parking space, I can do that. Oh, wait, there's a big puddle back there. I want to make sure I miss that puddle so I can change sort of the camera view. You know, if you're backing into a trailer, that is like super useful. It's so incredibly nice to have the functionality here on this. You know, it's just absolutely wild. It blows me away that we have this technology, especially in a Hyundai. But we do. And then moving further down here, you'll have your drive mode selector. You have snow, smart, sport, and normal. And the gauges do change, which is fun. I like, if you're gonna give me a screen, make the little animations fun. And so I like that there. You'll have hill descent control, a center locker, so, you know, a little bit of off-road prowess here. And then your camera button if you wanna pull up the cameras, maybe while you're going forward, pulling into a parking spot, or perhaps off-road. Then you'll have your electronic parking brake and your auto hold button. Right here, you can tap this to open up your little storage cubby. Not a ton in there, but it is nice. Then you'll get an auto dimming mirror and your controls up here for the SOS, the dome lights, which are LED, and then the button for the nice sunroof that you get. It's not huge, but it is definitely usable and fun that you have that included. I always yearn for a panoramic moonroof, you know, a full one, but this is still very nice. And the interior is very comfortable. I sort of glazed over the climate controls quickly, but you get cooled seats and a heated steering wheel with 2 levels of heat. So there are some nice luxury amenities in here. This really does feel like a more upscale compact truck. Moving to the rear seats, they do not fold down, but they do fold up and give you access to some storage underneath. And then stepping inside, I have this driver's seat at where I would sit at 5'9", and I'd say in the back here, I have maybe 3 or 4 inches of legroom and a solid 3 or 4 inches of headroom. It's more spacious than you'd think in the rear seats of the Santa Cruz. You'll have 2 climate vents back here and 2 USB-Cs. And then folding this down, you will of course have a nice little armrest with cup holders. I would say you'd be hard-pressed to fit 3 full adults comfortably back here on a long road trip. You could definitely do it, but you'd be a little bit cramped. But 4 people on a long road trip in here would definitely have a pretty good time. It's fairly spacious. You have some nice storage back here, and you get cup holders in the doors. The rear window line here is a little bit claustrophobic because you have such a big C-pillar here, but you definitely get used to it. And there is a decent amount of window space here, and that window goes all the way down, which is pretty impressive for a rear window. And then you have a manually sliding window back here. I do wish it was power operated, but it is nice that there's a window there at all. You also get a little dome light. But other than that, that's pretty much the back seats. Let's take this thing for a spin. All right, driving the Hyundai Santa Cruz definitely didn't just do the entire Rockford Files theme song prior to me saying this, and that definitely won't be located in the bloopers section after the conclusion of this video. Driving the Santa Cruz is fun. It's more car-like than anything, or a slightly more comfortable SUV. It definitely doesn't feel like a truck, but I don't think that's a bad thing. This is sort of a small little crossover truck anyway, and so for it to feel more SUV or sedan-like, that's great. I think it handles corners very well. You don't get a ton of body roll, which is so nice. The acceleration is very good. It picks up very quick. It sounds nice when it's accelerating too. That little turbocharged 4-cylinder isn't bad at all. And you make decent fuel economy. I'm at 24 miles per gallon right now. That's been about my average this week. But the steering is comfortable. It's definitely more sporty sedan than anything. And I don't hate that at all. I think the Santa Cruz is a very compelling little luxury truck. Honestly, I'd own one. I mean, I love my Tacoma. I'm never trading my Tacoma for anything. I'm gonna drive that thing to 350,000 miles, 400,000. The Santa Cruz is very compelling for what it is, if albeit a little pricey. This particular one is at 44,000, but it does have all the bells and whistles, and an all-wheel drive Santa Cruz starts at just about 30,000, which I think is a fantastic deal for what you get on the Santa Cruz. Like I said, on the rear, a lot of the bed features, like the lifting, opening storage container and stuff, are standard on this. And that's just not something you're gonna get on a lot of other trucks. And so even though it's small, it's pretty mighty in what it's offering. If you want all the bells and whistles, you can step up to this one at 44,000 and get everything, but you don't have to get a fun truck that offers a very refined driving experience that's comfortable. Well, that's just about going to conclude my review of this Hyundai Santa Cruz. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Before I go, though, I'd like to mention that I'm a Christian, and if you have any prayer requests, I would love to be able to pray for you. You can leave those in the comment section below. And lastly, I'd like to close out on a weekly scriptural reading. This week, I'm in the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 3. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the perversity of the treacherous destroys them. I had a little bit of a struggle with integrity this morning, actually. I had some friends invite me to go hiking, and I was like, sweet, I would love to go hiking. But at the moment, I'm visiting my parents, and I had forgotten that I had promised my mom to help her move tables at the same time I was going to do the hike. And so I mentioned to my mom, I'll be out in the afternoon, I'm going to do this hike. And she said, what about moving tables? And I said, oh, I thought I could move the tables at any point today. We can't move the tables now? And her schedule did not allow for it. And so I had to do it at 3, which was when I was going to go for the hike. And you know, my friends, if I didn't get there in time, my friends would be way down the trail, so it wouldn't make sense to go on the hike. And I was left with this choice where I could just go with my friends, but what I'd be doing was I would be going against my word with my mother, and I didn't remember that was my word, but sure enough, she pulled the receipts. Dang it, I agreed over text, right? And I had forgotten, and she's like, aha! And so here I was left with the choice, and she said, it's up to you. You do whatever you want. Don't you love that when your mom tells you, oh no, it's up to you, do whatever you want. But I sat and I thought about it, and I realized the integrous thing to do would be to text my friends and say, hey, I just don't think I'm gonna make it today. And we can schedule for another time. I gotta go move some tables. And so my encouragement to you guys would be, next time you're faced with a situation that you're unsure about, or maybe you are sure about, you just don't really want to do the right thing, lean into integrity. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. And remember, no matter what vehicle you drive, I hope it lasts you a long time and it serves you well. Take care. I have the Rockford Files theme song stuck in my head. Did that ever happen to anybody? Maybe not the Rockford Files theme song, but like any theme song. You're like, why is this in my head? This is going in the bloopers. There's no way I'm putting this in the actual driving segment of the video.